Good evening, folks. The Fauquier County School Board will call the school board meeting for this day, October the 8th, 2012, to order. Welcome all of you. Please join me as I lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you. I will be presiding over tonight's meeting. Chair Grove is vacationing somewhere. Good luck. Hey, folks, Ginger, would you please, should I say Ms. Callahan? Ms. Callahan, I was going to say Ms. Sterner. Ms. Callahan, please take the roll and so record. Congratulations to Ms. Callahan, our newlywed school board clerk over here. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
I move that the school board adopt the agenda as written.
Second. It's been a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. Folks, before we get into tonight's program, I would ask that you join me in a moment of silence for Ian Heflin, a Liberty High School student, and Sydney Davies, an Auburn Middle School student, who both passed away on September the 24th. Our prayers are certainly with their families and friends. Please join me. Thank you. The Superintendent Search Status Report. Dr. Howerton, the Superintendent Search Consultant, will provide us with a status report at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Bland.
Welcome, Dr. Howerton.
Thank you, Mr. Bland, Dr. Lewis, distinguished members of the board, members of the Superintendent's Cabinet. I thank you very much for giving me a few minutes to provide sort of an update, if you would,
please do,
with respect to the superintendent search. To sort of recap what you all have done, what you all have given very direct leadership in, you first of all did a web survey, which you received, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in excess of 100 responses. You conducted a public hearing. I met with members of the Superintendent's Cabinet individually. I met also with representatives of the Fauquier Education Association, two of whom I believe are here this evening. I met also with all principals within the school division, primarily for the purpose of gleaning those qualities and characteristics which they felt were most essential in the pursuit of the next superintendent for Fauquier County. I must say that the technique that I have used thus far, and by the way, let me back up and say, we are in a full-fledged recruitment effort at this time. We're approximately 2 weeks with all advertisements being online and out there. Unfortunately, there's always a delay between the local, state, and when national picks it up, because the publications are always a month behind what comes to them. If they got it by the middle of September, then it's just coming out in October. A response has been good. I use what is called a reputational technique. And that is, when I hear someone suggest the same name twice, then I contact that individual. One thing I don't think you necessarily want to do is recruit the world. We have a very specific set of criteria that you all agreed to, that we're using for purposes of seeking those individuals whom by reputation, the reputational technique, are likely to be a fit and hopefully will be considered. My job is, I always kid people, I'm a phoner, is that my time is spent on the telephone talking with prospects answering a lot of questions. There are a number of individuals who are really exploring. They want to feel it out to see exactly what the community is like, and I understand that you're the 8th wealthiest community in the country. I haven't spread that around because I'm not certain that exactly.
Please don't.
I'm sure it all rests with the school board itself. But the progress has been good. Applications are coming in. They're most likely to begin coming in at best rate, if you will, toward the end of October. In other words, there needs to be time for the application period, rather advertisement period, to be in the market.
Right.
So I feel good about it. I'm certainly available to answer any questions. I do want to thank your cabinet and your superintendent for the wonderful advice and counsel they have provided. Ms. Wolf, you and I had what I hope was a nice, productive conversation. And I'm more than willing to have conversation with any one of you who would like. But we're also in what I call the closed phase. We don't discuss applicants at this particular point for no reason other than the full confidentiality is extended to anyone who does indicate an interest. Interesting timing, if you will. The school year really is just underway. Most sitting superintendents just recently signed a contract for a new term that could be anywhere from 2 to 4 years. It's a little difficult for them to think seriously about leaving a job in which they signed a contract 2 or 3 months ago. So the timing of not holding anyone to a January 1 is, in my judgment, working advantageously. Because the typical length of time that a sitting superintendent would have to give to their employer if they were selected would be minimally 90 days. I believe, Dr. Lewis, you advised me of that, and many of them are up to 6 months.
6 months, that's right.
So consequently, we're on target. I think we're well within the range of having a complete slate, certainly in December. Cannot say enough about Mrs. Callahan. Ms. Callahan, I heard your name for the first time tonight, and I'm delighted, but she has just been wonderful to work with, and in spite of her taking a few days off to go camping on a honeymoon. But I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, we're up to date, and you'll have me back another time for another report.
Absolutely. Folks, now is the time to ask Dr. Howerton any questions that you might have.
I don't have any.
You okay? Okay.
Can you just go review, Dr. Howerton, the next, let's say, 2 to 3 milestones we have at this point?
The first milestone has been met, namely that all of the advertisements are out there.
I'm sorry, from this point on.
Okay, and the national is out there. The next milestone is generating a pool, quite frankly.
Okay.
And that's going to happen certainly within the next 60 days or over the next 60 days. And then the next milestone is what I call the due diligence effort. Is we will have an executive session in which you will review every single application. And this is something I think we talked about. It's a great belief of mine that if anyone goes to the trouble to complete all that has to be completed for a completed application, they deserve to be looked at. We'll call the list. We'll call the list down to 5 or 6. And hopefully we will have a time in which, and I generally suggest that we have a Friday, Saturday, possibly even Sunday, that we go someplace where candidates can be interviewed, and again, their confidentiality can be respected. Does that help?
It does. So really, we think we're not giving ourselves firm deadlines in terms of this.
Exactly.
60 days.
Exactly.
Okay.
We did indicate in the advertisement that we would begin reviewing applications as early as November 15th. And that process will take between November 15th and December. I'm hoping that in the first, no later than second week of December, we would be convening at some location for finalist interviews. Other questions?
Mr. Gore, you okay?
Yep.
Any more questions?
That's it, thank you.
Ms. Wolf?
Nope.
And, if I may,
Absolutely.
Mr. Bland, comment about this gentleman. Jonathan Lewis has absolutely been one of the all-time classic gentlemen in working with me in this process and sharing with me his knowledge and insights into individuals with whom he's had the privilege of working over the years. I think you've been mighty fortunate to have had him for the 4 years that
Yes,
you
we
have, and I consider him a genuine friend. And he's moving to my
Moving
neck
back
of the
home.
woods, I understand. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Howerton.
If you all will forgive me, I will spare you my presence.
Please have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
At this time, Pam Pulver will lead a presentation involving the Widener University Engineering Program.
For the past 4 years, Mrs. Linda Suter has provided a scholarship every summer for a girl to go to Widener University for an engineering camp. And in accordance with our Aspirations 2015 to keep on encouraging females to be in science, mathematics, and technology and engineering, we jumped on that, obviously, and went through an interview process. And Kimmy Culver, who is presently a senior at Liberty High School, was selected this past year to go to Widener during the summer. Mrs. Suter is here with us too, who is obviously a Widener grad, and she was very excited with the whole idea of Kimmy going to her alma mater. And Mrs. Suter is an engineer, and so she is very much involved in this field of study. So I wanted to thank Mrs. Suter for the opportunity for Kimmy to be able to go to Widener this summer. And I've asked Kimmy to come and tell you a little bit about what she discovered while she was there.
Oh, please do.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you guys for having me here. So as she said, I'm Kimmy. I'm currently a senior at Liberty, and I'd really like to thank Ms. Suter for giving me this wonderful opportunity to go to Widener University summer camp. At the summer camp, I spent approximately 9 hours every day doing engineering activities and lectures. Being a residential student, I got the privilege of having extra lectures, I guess, every night after dinner. They were about 2 or 3 hours that night on electrical engineering. And also on the first day, I got, and also another advantage was we also got to go over aeronautical engineering. For aeronautical engineering, the activity we did is we'd take a balloon and you taped it onto a piece of straw. You put a piece of straw on through a piece of string, and you had to blow up the balloon to a certain amount of air pressure, and you had to put pennies on them to decide where the center of gravity was. And we had competitions to see who went the fastest in the amount of time or who went the furthest. So that was really fun too. The next day, on Monday, the commuter students also came in, and we all met together and we discussed what we thought engineering was. And we got a broad definition, and we got decisions on like what modern things are considered engineering technology advancements. And so we had like a huge list going on boards of what we thought was important, like air conditioning, cars, and random stuff like that. And after that, we went to lunch and broke off into groups. My group, we were Group A, and we went off to Lego robotics. We spent a good amount of time discussing how we would build a robot, and they gave us step-by-step manuals, but they kind of encouraged you to design your own robot using sensors and stuff. And you had to get this robot to go through a maze. Well, I was not too good at that. My robot never made it through the maze, so I really learned I was not good at programming. And so I spent like 2 hours trying to get this robot to go through this maze, and it just did not work. The next day, we did bridge designing, and we used a new program called West Point Bridge Designs. And we had a competition to see who could build the cheapest bridge and the sturdiest bridge. I came in second, and we had a limit, and the group was only like maybe $10,000 less than me, $10,000 less than me. It's a program where you just use materials, and it kind of gives you an idea of what the cost would be. And you can test it with a big dump truck, and the dump truck goes over it. And if it fails, the dump truck falls down. And if it passes, it drives along to the next side of the road. After lunch, we did biomechanics and chemical engineering and plastics. So for this day, we learned about like artificial joints and artificial like biomechanical stuff. We did like a lot of, they showed us prosthetic knees and hips, and I really kind of understood that. So I'm really hoping to do biomechanical and biomedical engineering. After that, we went to chemical engineering, where we made a foam for our bottle rocket we constructed. So we just set up a bottle rocket type experiment, and then we also made ice cream using different things than he had. It was good. And then the next day, we built the bottle rockets. They were just tops of like 3-liter bottles filled with foam, like insulation kind of foam type thing that we made. And we constructed them, and we had a safety briefing. And what we did is we launched them on one of the big quad fields, and we used compressed air. And you would pull the trigger, and we had a competition to see who could go the farthest using a certain amount of compressed air. I got second in one of those. So and then after lunch that day, we went into mechanics of fluid and solids, and we learned about different types of steels and their breaking points. And they used this machine where they would pull both sides of the steel, and they recorded it, like the stress on each thing, and it would show you what happened when it snapped exactly. And then the last day, we learned about like the manufacturing process of any engineering thing. Like the example they used was a vacuum cleaner. So we learned the steps of what it takes to get a patent for a vacuum cleaner, and what it takes exactly to build this vacuum cleaner and to sell it and everything like that. Afterwards, we did balloon car racing. It was this little cart on little tiny wheels, and it was made of paper, and you had a balloon attached to it, and you had to blow up a balloon, and you had to put a certain amount of air, so it had to go a certain amount of distance. Like it would be like 10 feet. So you had to get your balloon to go 10 feet using air, and they also gave us little bolts where you put them on the car to weigh it down, to slow it down, or to speed it up, whatever you wanted it to do. I didn't do that well in that either. But we had a faulty balloon. And then after that, we went into biomedical and biomechanical engineering again, and we also learned more about the prosthetics and everything like that. And then we had our closing remarks and our closing ceremony. But each night for engineering, we did circuitry on one night, and we built a lie detector. We built a working circuit that we had to design, and we learned a lot about electrical engineering. It was 3 hours every night. So we learned a lot about that. But it was a lot of fun, and I definitely really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot about all the different disciplines. Originally going to the camp, I thought I wanted to be a civil engineer, like building bridges. But as soon as I hit that biomedical, biomechanical thing, I was like, this makes sense. So I really want to do that, and I really hope to pursue a career in biomechanical engineering.
That's great. Well, it certainly sounds like you had a great time, and you worked hard. So.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet it was. Yeah. Good. Questions, comments, folks?
Yeah, just really impressed.
Yeah.
What a week. That was a week?
It was 5 days.
Yeah.
A little less than a week, school week. But
And how many other students were there?
for residential, there was about 16 of us. It was just evenly split, like boys and girls. And there was actually a kid from Boston, Massachusetts there. So he had a pretty far drive. And then there were 30 other commuter students. So the residential students would go back to the dorms, and the next morning we'd come and we'd meet in one of the classrooms, and everyone would sit there for a while. And then we'd break off into groups.
Sounds like a great time.
Yeah, it was really worth it. I really enjoyed it. And I learned a lot about each discipline. So.
Great. You thank Ms. Suter for making
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Suter.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's going to be hard to top this. Nevertheless, I've got to move on with the announcements, folks. The Finance Committee will meet on Wednesday, October the 10th at 5 p.m. in the School Administration Conference Room. The Personnel Committee will meet Thursday, October the 11th at 8 o'clock a.m. in the School Administration Conference Room. Immediately following that meeting, the Building Committee will meet on Thursday, October 11th at 9 a.m. in the School Administration Conference Room. There will be a school board retreat at the Inn at Kelly's Ford on Saturday, October the 13th, from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The Mountain Vista Governor School Governing Board will meet on Thursday, October the 18th, at 8 a.m. in the Warren County School Board office. Chairman's Night is Monday, October the 22nd, at 5 p.m. in the School Administration Conference Room. There will be a school board work session on Monday, the 22nd, also, at 6 p.m. in the School Administration Conference Room. There will be a School Support Council meeting on Thursday, November the 1st, at 7 o'clock p.m. in the School Administration Conference Room. There will be a Health Advisory Committee meeting on Wednesday, November the 7th, at 8 o'clock a.m. in the Central Complex Meeting Room. The Special Ed Advisory Committee will meet on Wednesday, November the 7th, at 5:30 p.m. in Central Complex Meeting Room A. The Mountain Vista Governor School Governing Board will meet on Thursday, November the 8th, at 8 o'clock a.m. at the Warren County School Board office. The Personnel Committee will meet on Thursday, November the 8th, at 8 o'clock in the School Administration Conference Room. The Building Committee will meet on Thursday, November the 8th, at 9 o'clock a.m. in the School Administration Conference Room. And the next school board meeting is Monday, November the 12th, at 7 o'clock p.m., right here at the Warren Green Building. I would also like to remind everyone that October is National Disability and Mentoring Month. Response to citizens' time.
Not this evening.
Nothing this evening. Then we shall move on to citizens' time. Now, folks, the school board appreciates public input. However, due to time constraints, citizens' time is not a time for dialogue. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and matters relating to personal or personnel issues should not be discussed. The school board welcomes the public's comments and believes community involvement is an important component of a successful school division. And I have the roster here, and it looks like Pat Baker. Come on down.
Good evening, Mr. Bland, school board members, Dr. Lewis. Dr. Howerton brought it up first, but yay, 8th wealthiest county in the nation. And how sad that we didn't get a penny for the schools. So hopefully, everybody will know that we're the 8th wealthiest county in the nation, and they'll be a little bit more generous to the Fauquier County school system next year. Not that anybody is ungrateful, we're not. We do have jobs, people who are here, 19 of us are not, but we do have jobs. We were given a 2% increase, which did not amount to 2%, because we were not held harmless with the VRS 5%. So people are actually, with another 20% increase in health cost, actually it was anywhere between 5 to 20%, but a great number of your employees are at the 20% with the PPO 3, the highest one. We lost 20% more in our share of the cost of health insurance. So a great many of your employees this year brought home less money. Our first paycheck was just a few days ago. To say that people were in shock was, mild, but we all should have known that was coming. You have a budget coming up, and it's in the consent agenda that you're going to set a schedule. The FEA would ask that you consider all transparency in everything that you do. If you have very wise business decisions that include things like market adjustments, salary adjustments, we think that there should be a courage to that conviction, and it should be brought to the public during the budget cycle, and it should be out loud in public for everybody to know. You have the right to pay anybody you want, anything you want. We are perfectly aware of that. However, we do feel in a time when your lowest paid employees are below market value, as you publicly announce and admit to, and wish you could help, and we understand that. They are not getting any, but yet our administrators and supervisors are on the line for market adjustments. And that's wonderful for them. We do not begrudge anybody more money. We wish everybody could get more money. But when we're giving it, we certainly hope that we look at some of the people who need it the most and who are working the hardest. And we have some positions in our schools that are not being filled. We need custodians, we need food services, we need bus drivers, and it's a pay situation. And I thank you for your time.
Ms. Baker, I thank you for yours. I said, I thank you for yours.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anyone else who perhaps did not get a chance to sign the roster before it was handed in?
I did not sign the roster today.
You wish to speak, sir?
Yes, my name is James Rice. I sent an email a couple weeks ago.
Please, step forward. Identify yourself and your magisterial district, please, when you approach the, okay?
I'm Greenville, my kids go to Greenville Elementary. I'm not sure which district that, I looked it up when I did the email.
Scott?
What street?
Greenville, we live in Spring Run Road. That's the one that, we don't know which one Greenville Elementary is in?
Well, that's
Oh, Spring Run, yeah.
Greenville.
That was Scott District.
Scott,
We
okay?
live in Brookside.
I do.
Scott,
So-
okay?
So, you know, when I
And your
sent my
name?
email, I'm going to summarize real quick. James Rice.
Okay.
So back on September 18th, we had a tornado watch here, and the school system canceled the afternoon activities. Well, my children go to FCCC before and after care, and what happened was they canceled daycare. And there was no plan of control for the children to go from their classroom to something other than FCCC. We had FCCC staff on site, yet they were, you know, dismissed and told to leave. What happened was the principal said, we're going to take these kids, we're going to put them on school buses and send them home for children who had a school bus designated to them. So kids went home, some children went home to empty homes. Now I remind you, this is during a tornado watch. My children stayed with my daughters, my kindergarten teachers, stayed with the teacher. I have a second grader and a kindergarten teacher. Now, the kindergarten teacher called me on my cell phone as I was driving. My wife got an email, luckily got an email. She called me at work and you know, had to leave and get the kids. So I get this phone call saying, hey, I have the kids, when are you going to be here to pick them up? Well, you know, I'm doing the best I can. My wife also left because she didn't know if I was going to be able to leave or not, coming out from Reston. So my wife gets to the office. People in the office don't really know where the children are. Okay, so there's a lack of communication of where the children are, who has control, what's going to happen to them. You know, nothing happened, nothing bad happened. We got the kids, we came home. Followed up with a phone call to Joyce Hoffman, who is your acting director out at in your main office. Spoke to her, had a great conversation with her, brought this up to her. But I wanted to bring this up at a higher level, just to make sure that we know that canceling FCCC causes you know, significant turmoil in the lives of these parents here. Transitioning children from a brick and mortar school to a school bus to potentially a house that's locked up is not a solution. After school activities of the sort of, you know, lacrosse, football, sports is not quite the same as canceling, you know, care of your children. So with that, I just want to wrap that up. So what I'm looking for here is not an answer right now, but just, you know, what is the new process going to be for our transition for FCCC, and how is that going to be handled? So I'll follow up maybe next month. I'll come back. I'm just going to be looking for some kind of policy change or something written down saying, this is what we're going to do. Because this was a systemic problem across multiple schools.
I was going to say, do we have his email address? Do we have a way of getting back with him?
I believe so. This matter has been addressed.
Okay.
And so we'll be getting back with you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you all for your time, too.
Sure. All right, folks, we have reports. The school board members may report on their liaison activities and committee meetings at this time. And Mr. Gore, we'll start to my right with you, sir.
I actually just have one question, and it's something we can follow up on, Dr. Lewis. And it goes back to the transition we had away from the competitive organized sports in middle school. Was one of the decisions was to just allow the leagues to charge if they wanted entrance fees into their programs. And there seems to be some confusion around that because from what I hear, I haven't witnessed it, but some PTOs are charging admittance and some are not. So I don't know if we have any if we can.
What I can share with you, I don't know the status of that. We actually have principals meetings tomorrow, and one of the items on the middle school principals agenda is to talk about both the intramural program and the other sports program. I do know that, and I think you're probably referring to the girls basketball program. I'm not certain, but I've heard that issue has come up. Because these programs are being run by clubs, and because PTOs operate autonomously and are not part of the school division, decisions made by clubs and PTOs to do that really are not affected by school board policy.
Right.
I think that there's would certainly be some interest in there being consistency from one school to the other about how those things are managed. Yeah. But I think this is one of those things that, you know, when you begin a program that bubble up that you have to kind of work out. And we're going to be talking about that tomorrow at the meeting. It did come up to me. I was, a principal called and said, you know, how do you feel about this? And I don't believe there has been a charge in the past for those girls' games. And so I thought it was something that some parents, it would be new to them to come to a game and be charged for that. Okay. So I think that goes under the category of one of those things that we need to work out with, or at least have a discussion with the leagues about.
Great. And just I'll report as a parent here too. My daughter came running home with her intramural activity list. And I've been sort of publicly a little bit critical of that program, unsure of what it's going to look like. I've never seen my child so excited about something in school as that intramural program. And I wanted to say that publicly because I've been critical of, or not critical, just critical and questioning about the effectiveness of those intramural programs, and see my daughter run home like that with that, and couldn't wait to show me about some of the, not even sports activities, the cake decorating activities. I just want to compliment
Crazy
people.
Cupcakes, I understand, is one of our biggest activities right
It's crazy. And so I just want to compliment all the people too that really went out there and put their foot out there on that program, because to see children so excited about that is really impressive.
I plan to give the board an update at our November meeting after we our first intramural session begins in about a week, and it lasts for 6 weeks. So by the time we meet in November, I think we'll have a pretty good feel for how this first pilot session's working. And I think we've had kind of across the spectrum of results from school to school, but overwhelmingly, I think we feel pretty positive that we're going to have a good first experience. But I also think we feel that this is something that will grow with energy, and in each session, even into the winter in January, February, March, that will continue to build interest. But I really do appreciate you sharing that with me.
Yeah, I just feel like somebody who's questioning that significantly to kind of come around on that and see the experience of it and see it in real terms. I was excited to see it. So
I'll give you all an update as soon as we have some firm numbers.
Mr. Chair, Mr. President, that's all.
That's
Thank
it?
you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Gore. Ms. Wolf?
I just really want to thank everybody who contributed to the qualities that we're looking for in a superintendent. I've been out on the website that Ms. Callahan sent to us, and I've read a lot of superintendent advertisements, and ours is truly one of the best, and I think it came out of the massive amount of input that we got from the public, so that really made a difference. And if you haven't been out on the website and read the advertisement that you should do it. I also want to thank Ms. Suter for giving that student that opportunity. Was that incredible? I mean, that truly transformed her life and probably other kids when she starts talking about it. So that was really great. I really want to thank her. The only thing, and this has nothing to do with schools, but it is that important that I just want to make sure everybody in this room and on TV knows that the last day to register to vote for this election is October 15th, and that is 1 day from today. Or 1 week from today, sorry. 1 week from today.
All right.
And I know there's been a lot of talk about all this ID stuff, but every single registered voter in the state of Virginia should have received a voter registration or a voter ID card. If you didn't get one, you need to contact the voter registration office and find out why. Maybe your voter registration information is not right. And there is a vast amount of ID options. You can have a driver's license, your voter registration card, any ID card issued by a government agency of the Commonwealth, any valid student ID card issued by an institution of higher education, any valid employee ID card issued containing a photograph of the voter, a copy of a current utility bill, copy of a current bank statement, copy of a current government check, a paycheck that shows the name and address of the voter, a concealed handgun permit, and or a social security card. So I think that covers everything. So I really want to encourage everybody to get out there next in November. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Wolf. Ms. Ritter.
Only Cheryl would bring up my job to send me back to the office on the day that I'm off. I'm voting. I can't believe we did that. Anyway, I wanted to thank everybody too for the input about the superintendent search. And I made my way to a few of the schools in the Scott District. And it's just good, I think, sometimes just to touch base with people and see what they're thinking and feeling and stuff. So I thought that was well done. I think that's something we might want to consider doing more often because, you do totally get disconnected when you're not out there and you're not talking to people. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add to what you so eloquently put. Thanks.
Is there anything you would like to add at this time?
Only that we completed, I think, the homecoming circuit, did we not, Mr. Warner? Yeah. All three of our high schools have had homecoming programs the past 2 weeks, and from what I understand, they've been rousing successes. Is that correct? Always. So I congratulate the administrations and faculty at the schools, and I'm pleased that our students had such a great time.
All right, very well. Financial management report, Ms. Coulthall.
Good evening. This is the first report for fiscal year 13. They have closed out last year. The auditors are in. In fact, last week we dealt significantly with them. You will probably receive the report either November or December from them. The report, the paper report that you're going to see is slightly different now that we've been a whole year under the new format. We now have last year to use as a benchmark. So what you see up there is the current month, but what's attached to the agenda online shows not just this fiscal year, but the same time last fiscal year. It gives you a benchmark that we'll be having. You will notice in salaries, the 12-month employees have been paid 2 months at this time, 11-month people 1 time, and the teachers hadn't yet been paid as at the end of August. Everything looks to be in line. There is a significant increase in state dollars, and that is because it does make a larger piece of our pie, if you will, with no additional local dollars and state going up $5 million. We are receiving that money, so it's showing up. Any questions?
Questions?
Looks a lot better than the last one.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Coulthall. Ms. Downs will present the Human Resources Department report.
Good evening. I have a brief summary on recruitment this evening. For certified recruitment, we have 10 positions, and for classified recruitment, we have 17. And we're working on filling those positions currently. Any questions this evening?
That's an improvement over last month.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, significantly.
That's great.
Yeah.
We've actually filled some custodian positions over the last 2 weeks, so it's very good.
That's great.
Good, okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Moving right along, we are at item 11 on the agenda, and it looks like it's consent agenda, and at this time, the chair will entertain a motion referencing the consent agenda.
I move that the school board approve the following. The minutes of the September 10th school board meeting, the payment of bills, personnel actions, NCLB consolidated grant, fiscal year 14 budget calendar, and religious exemptions 100812.1 and 100812.2.
Second?
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously for the consent agenda. Item 12, information items, the year-end funds and budget transfer. Ms. Coulthard, you're back up again.
Yes, sir. What is before you is the same information that was presented at your work session.
Right.
And this is three components to this. One is a request to carry over the Mountain Vista year-end funds. We are their fiscal agent, so that's kind of a formality to get that carried over to next year. The next is to look at the school operating fund year-end. We spent 99% of our available funds, leaving 1% or $1.3 million. What you have is school administration's recommendation on the request that would go to the Board of Supervisors on the use of that. The first recommendation is $600,000 for the Fauquier High School renovation. That is part of the amount that the school division had agreed to pay additional cash of $2.4 million. You've already done 1.2 last year. This is $600,000. That would be from year end. The third request, I'll skip ahead, is going to be a request to take $600,000 from the school construction reserve account.
Right.
The combination of those two would fulfill our obligation for the Fauquier High School renovation project. So with the year-end funds, we'd like to use $600,000 for the Fauquier High School. We'd like to use $250,000 to match the county's $250,000 for human services system. We'd also like to use $150,000 to gather sufficient funds that we can have security at all our elementary schools, as has been piloted this last year. We'd like to use $65,000 for a one-year temporary kindergarten teacher at Coleman Elementary School to bring down one of our areas, one of the worst areas of pupil-teacher ratios. And that would be a one-year temporary position. And then the remainder are, as we've talked about, our per pupil funding for textbook significantly increased. It went from the $40 per pupil to $89 per pupil, mostly funded with lottery funds. But we have a match based on our composite index. So this would help provide sufficient money to make that match. It also will allow us to have replacement textbooks. It will allow us to where we ran a little short on some of our textbooks, we try to be conservative in mathematics, and I think it was algebra or trigonometry, one of the other places, to purchase those textbooks as well. So that's our request. You certainly could move it to action tonight. You did see at your work session, but if you just wait till next work session, your timing's still fine. The Board of Supervisors won't consider this till their November meeting.
Okay.
I will tell you that the Board of Supervisors Finance Committee did preliminarily look at these lists, both ours and the counties, so they have seen this.
Okay.
Before you sit down, I just want to make clear, so this $1.2 million will complete the school board's cash obligation for the Fauquier High School renovation project. So we're paid in full. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Board, I don't see anything different what she has offered here as opposed to what we discussed in our last school board work session. Do you? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we can, and since she does not need immediate action tonight, it is my recommendation that we vote on it at our next work session, and we'll just have a special school board meeting and address it at this point, and to give, you know, the BOS a time to look at it and everybody else.
Absolutely.
We're okay with that?
Yes, sir. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Gore?
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I'm fine with it. All right. Thank you. The Adult Basic Education Grant, Mr. Finn.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, and Dr. Lewis. I'm here to request and share information, request action tonight and share information about the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act grant. The funds that we will receive for this grant will be used to provide adult GED services, some of which will be directed toward ELL, English Language Learner population. And we will use all of those funds for that purpose. Tentatively, we see running a program at Thompson as we had in past years, one at Thorpe House and most likely one at Mary Walter, so we're kind of spanning the various regions of the county. One of the things that is not mentioned in the information item is that we are part now of a regional group that receives funding through the state, federal grant funding through the state, that includes Orange County, Madison, Rappahannock, and Culpeper, as well as ourselves. In this grant process, the way it's been submitted was through Culpeper County with an MOU from Fauquier about our obligations under the agreement, and Orange County will act as the fiscal agent. So if you noticed in some of the supporting documentation, it was addressed to Orange County Public Schools, and that is the reason. So Ms. Kotoff and I are working with Culpeper County and Orange County to work out the details on how the funds will be reimbursed. So, but we are asking that it move to action tonight because we anticipate the receipt of those funds quickly. We have a tentative plan worked out with personnel that will provide the instruction for this program. We'd like to be in a position to move forward with implementation at approximately October 15th. So with acceptance of the board for those funds, we will be in a position to do so.
Any questions for Mr. Finn, folks?
I just want to make sure you mention the local match.
Correct.
About that.
Yes. The local match that's indicated in the grant is approximately $11,000. There are no operational dollars from Fauquier County funds being used. The local match will be met strictly by use of our facilities at Thompson, Thorpe House, and Mary Walter, and that meets our in-kind obligation under the grant.
Folks, given that this is a time-sensitive item, I'm sorry, Mr. Gordon, you give a...
No, we had the same question.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And I just
All right.
wanted to point out, too, that they are ready to go on this because they have people hopefully waiting in the wings, and we need to move this.
All right, folks, this is a time-sensitive item, so I would recommend that we move forward. And having said that, the chair would entertain a motion to expedite this process.
I motion that the school board move the Adult Basic Education Grant to action item 13B for consideration for approval this evening.
Second.
There's been a motion in 2 seconds that the school board approve the Adult Basic Education Grant and to move it to an action item 13B for consideration for approval this evening. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. It will move to action item, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just in closing, I just want all the board members to know that the phone and student services and at Thorpe House through the summer and on into the beginning of the school year has been ringing off the hook with requests for
There's
demand
no doubt
for
in
these
my mind.
services. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Folks, we are now at the point of the evening that we are ready to discuss action items. And the first is action item 13A, the determination of the request for removal of the outsiders as a learning resource.
And,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, please, I made an error in my typing, so when you're reading your recommended motion.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
It's actually for the
Yes.
non-removal, correct?
That the school board do not approve, right? It should be do not approve.
No, it isn't that. It is, it doesn't,
Oh,
it doesn't fit.
Doesn't even make sense.
No,
No.
makes
Okay,
no
all
sense.
right.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That makes no sense.
We'll have to make a motion on our own.
That's it.
The motion is to retain,
It was
Yeah,
that
it's
getting
totally
married
in.
thing, it just threw me off.
the motion would be to retain the outsiders.
Right.
Retain use of the outside.
Their fault, yes, but
Right, but that would be the, okay.
it would.
Determination for the
That's the
request to
recommendation.
retain the outsiders as a learning resource, okay? Forget the recommended motion that you see there.
Jay, may I
Move
make the
forward.
motion?
Sure.
Yes, sir, I will.
I motion that we approve the continued use of the outsiders as a learning resource in our school system.
To move. Second.
First and second,
I'm not fighting with you again on it.
the movie.
The movie, The Outsiders.
Yeah, the books are in there.
Right.
Any further discussion?
I just would like to say, being on the committee, that talked to, in length, to a lot of people, parents, students, principals, spoke with the teacher who was involved in this situation, and I don't know if you've all read our review that we came up with, but it absolutely was moving to talk to people about this movie and how it really solidified the book and their understanding of the book, their visualization of the book. And I firmly believe that the inclusion of this movie in our curriculum really adds to the in-depth knowledge that the kids get out of having it there, so.
Yeah, I'd like to add,
Yes, sir.
reiterate the report that the process appears to have been followed correctly for the appeal. That was part of the concern. And I also want to echo, this is a movie that meant a lot to me as a student in middle school. And I think I was proud of the way the process, after we looked at it, was followed. There are options for people to opt out of this if they don't want their children to participate in watching this movie in school. And finally, I think we made a few recommendations that people may want to consider as they look at this process on the form and timing. But in terms of upholding this as a resource, we were
unanimous.
After I heard you two review the movie and talk about the review in one of the meetings, I borrowed the movie from Dr. Mitchell and took it home and watched it. And I too thought it was very entertaining and very worthwhile. So having said that, Ms. Reardon, you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Then we'll close discussion and say to all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Then the motion again carries unanimously. At this time, we will entertain a motion considering the adult basic education grant that we moved forward because it's a time-sensitive item. Anybody?
I move that the school board approve the adult basic education grant.
Second.
Motion and second that the school board approve the adult basic education grant. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye. 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 All opposed say no. Again, motion carries unanimously. At this time, I will ask my fellow board members, is there anything else to come before the meeting in an open forum?
So this is pretty cute. Has this been up there the whole time? Yes, very cute. I moved to adjourn.
You move to adjourn?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? I bet not. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Folks, have a safe trip home, and thanks for joining us this evening.